Welcome to the Frontline Leadership Podcast, where we explore actionable insights and real-world strategies to help leaders at every level elevate their impact. Let's dive in and take your leadership journey to the next level. This podcast is pre-recorded and generated for auditory learners, similar to text-to-speech software. The content is intended to provide valuable insights and is not live or interactive. The views and opinions expressed are those of the author and do not necessarily reflect the official position of any organization or entity.
You know, that sinking feeling when a junior employee messes up, it's frustrating, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like maybe they miss a deadline, or I don't know, they botch a spreadsheet formula, or send an email to all staff that was meant for literally one person.
The dreaded reply all.
Yes. And it's a headache, sure, but usually you can fix it. You apologize to the client, you fix the formula, you have a little coaching moment, and everyone just kind of moves on.
Right. Because it's tactical. It's a contained event. It's like a spilled cup of coffee.
A spilled cup of coffee, exactly. But have you ever noticed what happens when a senior leader fails? It's not just a mistake anymore. It feels
completely different.
Yeah, it feels heavy. It destroys culture. It tanks morale. It erodes trust that took, maybe a decade to build. It's like the difference between dropping a glass of water and a whole dam breaking.
That is the perfect image. And that's actually the core theme of what we're digging into today for this deep dive.
I am so ready for this one.
We are looking at a really heavy-hitting article by Christian Skierski. It's titled, "Much Will Be Required: The Standard for Senior Leaders." And I want to be clear right off the bat, this is not one of those 5 habits of highly effective CEOs puff pieces.
Right, or a listicle about how to hack your morning routine with ice baths.
Exactly. No, this is much darker, honestly, but in a really good, necessary way. It's about the weight of the crown, so to speak.
It really is. It's about the physics of failure at the top. And I know Skierski introduces this concept of the blast radius, which is
so accurate. When you're junior, your blast radius is small. You're contained. But as you rise, that radius expands until it covers the entire organization.
Yeah.
And his argument is that, well, we spend years training people on how to get the job, the capability part.
Right, the hard skills.
We spend almost zero time training them on the physics of that blast radius.
Which perfectly explains why we see so many really competent people get promoted. Like people who were absolute rock stars at their previous level. And then they immediately flame out or just struggle massively when they get the big title.
Or worse, honestly, they don't flame out immediately. They just slowly poison the culture because they don't understand the structural weight they're carrying.
They treat the new role exactly like the old role, just with a bigger office.
Precisely. So our mission today is to unpack this. We're going to completely dismantle the idea that a promotion is a reward or a badge of honor.
Which, let's be honest, is how literally all of us secretly view it.
Right. And we're going to replace it with what Skierski calls proportional accountability.
And I have to say, there is a section in the source on what he calls leadership mathematics that completely rewired how I look at an org chart. I am so excited to get into that.
The math section is fascinating. It effectively turns leadership into an equation. But before we can even solve the equation, we really have to look at the trap. Because Skierski argues there is a specific psychological trap that almost every new executive walks right into.
The validation trap.
That's one.
I think I've fallen into this. I mean, I think most people have. You work hard, you hit your numbers, you lead the big project that saves the quarter, and finally you get the tap on the shoulder. You're the new VP.
Right.
Your brain immediately says, I earned this. This is my prize. You want to pop the champagne? Update your LinkedIn profile.
And that is the precise moment the rot sets in.
See, that sounds so harsh. Why is feeling good about a promotion rot? We're human. We like to be recognized.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
But here's the crucial distinction Skierski makes. If you view the promotion as validation...
Like, I did good, so I get this.
Yes. If you do that, you are looking backward. You're viewing the new role as a trophy for past performance. But the source argues that senior leadership isn't expanded authority. It is expanded obligation.
Okay, let's just pause on that for a second. Expanded obligation.
Think about it. If you think it's a reward, you naturally focus on the perks. The office, the budget, the difference people start showing you.
A reserved parking spot. The better coffee machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You focus on what the organization can do for you. But if you view it as an obligation, you focus on the systems you are now responsible for. It is a complete inversion of perspective.
And most leadership development programs completely fail to trigger that inversion. They congratulate you. They don't warn you.
They don't.
It's like, imagine you win a gold medal at the Olympics. That's a reward. You hang it on your wall. You don't have to feed the metal. You don't have to keep the metal safe from structural failure. It's just yours to enjoy.
Right. But a senior role isn't a medal. It's more like inheriting a nuclear power plant.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations, you're in charge. Please don't melt it down. The validation trap is thinking you were given a medal when you were actually handed the keys to the reactor.
That is a terrifying distinction, but it makes so much sense. Because if you think you're holding a medal, you aren't checking the pressure gauges.
Precisely. And to explain this burden, Skirsky goes back.
Yeah.
Like way back. He bypasses modern management science, bypasses Peter Drucker and the Harvard Business Review, and goes straight to the Gospel of Luke.
Yeah, I saw this in the text, chapter 12, verse 48. For everyone to whom much is given, from him much will be required, and to whom much has been entrusted, of him they will ask the more.
Now, be honest. When you hear that quote normally, what's the vibe?
I mean, it's usually motivational. It's in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben telling Peter Parker about power and responsibility. It feels like encouragement to use your talents. Like, hey, you're good at math. Go be an engineer.
That's how we consume it culturally. It's a pep talk.
Yeah.
But Skirsky argues that if you are intellectually honest about that text, it is not an encouragement. It is a metric. It is a rigid, terrifying standard. He calls it a proportional accountability framework.
Meaning the accountability isn't just arbitrary. It scales mathematically.
Correct. And this brings us right to that leadership mathematics concept you mentioned earlier. Skirsky breaks this down into 3 distinct formulas.
Let's get into it.
I think we need to walk through these slowly because the implications are huge for anyone listening who manages people. This isn't just abstract theory. This is how you actually get graded.
Let's do it. Let's break down the math. Formula number 1 is knowledge increases responsibility.
Okay, think about the junior employee again. Let's say a junior accountant. They have very limited visibility. They don't know the company is running out of cash.
Right.
They don't know about the strategic pivot coming in Q4. They just know their specific task list is to reconcile these invoices. If they make a decision that ignores the cash flow problem, you can't really blame them. They literally didn't know.
Ignorance is a totally valid defense at that level. You can't fix what you can't see.
Exactly. But as you rise, you get access. You get the dashboard. You get the closed-door meetings. You know where the bodies are buried. You see the raw data way before PR polishes it for the all-hands.
Yeah.
Skirsky's point is that once you know, you lose the luxury of ignorance forever. Your responsibility spikes, strictly because your awareness spikes.
So you can no longer say, well, I didn't think that would happen.
Right. You had the data. You were responsible for knowing. If you were a senior leader and you say, I didn't know, that is not an excuse. That is a confession of incompetence. It means you weren't looking.
Oof. So the I didn't know excuse actually becomes an indictment. That's heavy. So that's the first equation. Knowledge equals responsibility.
Yep.
Okay, second part of the math. Authority increases expectation.
This is all about leverage. We talk about leverage in finance all the time, right? Using debt to multiply gains. But we rarely talk about it in behavior. Think about emotional leverage. If a team lead is grumpy one morning, maybe 3 people have a bad day.
It's annoying, but it's contained.
Right. Low leverage, low blast radius. Now imagine the CEO is grumpy. Imagine the VP of sales walks into a meeting, sighs loudly, and just starts aggressively checking their phone while someone is presenting.
Oh, the whole room freezes. People start texting each other under the table like, is he mad? Are layoffs coming?
Exactly.
People start canceling projects. They start hiding bad news because they don't want to get yelled at. The ripple effect is huge.
The leverage is massive. A decision you make as a director affects 50 families. A decision at the C-suite affects thousands. Skirsky argues that because your leverage scales up so drastically, the expectation for precision, for foresight, and especially for emotional regulation must scale up proportionally.
You don't get graded on a curve anymore.
No. You have to be right and you have to be steady because the cost of you being wrong or unstable is just too high.
It's like being a pilot. If a passenger has a panic attack, it's a problem. If the pilot has a panic attack, it's a catastrophe.
That's exactly it. The expectation is set by the authority you hold, not just your job description.
Which leads us to the final, and I think the heaviest part of the math. Trust increases judgment.
This is the one that really catches people off guard. We tend to think that if people trust us, like if we've been with the company for 10 years, we're part of the family, they'll be more forgiving if we screw up.
Yeah.
We think trust is a buffer.
Right. Like, oh, he's a good guy, let it slide. You build up social capital to spend it on mistakes. That is standard corporate thinking.
Skirsky says no. Not at this level. He argues the exact opposite. He says evaluations don't just happen emotionally, they intensify structurally. If an organization entrusts you with its future and you violate that trust, the judgment is severe. And he says it should be.
Because the betrayal is deeper.
It's not just betrayal, it's structural risk. Let's go back to your dam analogy. If you drop the glass of water, you make a mess on the floor. If you drop the dam, you flood the city.
Yeah.
We have to judge the dam operator more harshly than the waiter. It's not personal, it's physics. If the dam operator is negligent, we don't say, well, he's a nice guy. We say, he endangered everyone.
That is the shift right there. It's moving from, did you try hard, to, did the city flood?
Precisely. And that brings us to the transition point in the article that I found the most practical for anyone listening. The shift from competence to consequence.
This is the absolute danger zone for careers. This is where the Peter principle usually kicks in, right? People rising to the level of their incompetence.
It is. I mean, think about your early career. What made you successful?
Getting stuff done, checking boxes, execution, being the go-to person who could just fix the problem. If there was a fire, I put it out.
Right. Competence-driven success. The questions are simple. Can you execute? Can you hit the deadline? If the answer is yes, you rise, you get promoted, but then you reach a level.
What he calls the stewardship level.
Yes. You reach that level where success is no longer about your ability to execute tasks. It is about the consequences of your presence.
Consequences of your presence. That sounds almost philosophical. Unpack that a bit.
Well, Skiersky writes that at this level, your decisions affect systems, not just projects. Your tone shapes culture, not just the single meeting. And here's the trap. New executives get there and they feel the pressure. They feel the imposter syndrome hard.
Oh, totally.
So what do? They revert to what they know. They try to out-execute everyone.
They start meddling in the details. They try to prove they are still the smartest person in the room. I've seen this so many times.
They try to prove they're the hardest worker. They answer emails at 2 a.m. because they think that shows dedication. They micromanage the report. They're basically playing the competence game in a consequence league.
And meanwhile, while they're busy fixing a font size on slide 14, the culture is drifting, the strategy is misaligned, and their team is burning out because they literally can't make a move without the boss checking it.
Exactly. Skiersky has this killer quote in the piece. Leadership at scale is no longer about proving ability. It is about managing impact. If you are still trying to prove you can do the work, you aren't stewarding the organization. You're just a highly paid bottleneck.
That hits hard. I think a lot of us have been that bottleneck at some point. We think we're helping, but we're actually clogging the system because we haven't let go of the doer mindset.
We haven't accepted the math. We're trying to keep our blast radius small when it's already huge.
Let's talk about that word stewardship, because it's one of those corporate buzzwords that usually makes my eyes glaze over. We are stewards of the brand, blah, blah, blah. It usually just means don't lose money.
It is so overused. But Skiersky uses it in a very specific, almost aggressive way here. He contrasts ownership with stewardship.
Okay, tell me more.
In business, we love ownership, right? Take ownership of your results, own the P&L. It feels empowering. But Skiersky argues that for a senior leader, you don't actually own anything.
Which feels totally counterintuitive. I'm the boss, it's my team, I hired them.
No. According to the source, everything entrusted to a senior leader is delegated. Your experience, your influence, your authority, and the trust placed in you, none of it is yours. It is loaned to you. It's loaned by the shareholders, by the institution, and perhaps most importantly, by the people you lead. They lend you their career aspirations. They lend you their trust.
Wow. That completely changes the internal posture. If I own a car, I can paint it neon pink and drive it into a ditch if I want to. It's mine. I paid for it.
Right. But if you're borrowing my car...
I am driving 10 and 2. I am checking the mirrors. I'm parking it carefully away from other cars. I have to return it in better condition than I found it.
That's stewardship. And Skiersky points out that because these traits aren't owned, they aren't permanent. You are just holding them for a while. You are a temporary occupant of the chair.
Yeah.
This is why he says that when you really get this, when it finally clicks, your internal posture completely shifts. Recognition becomes obligation. Access becomes exposure.
And authority becomes accountability.
It shifts the focus entirely from look at what I achieved to look at what I am responsible for. Skiersky says senior leadership is not about accumulation. It is about stewardship under scrutiny.
Stewardship under scrutiny. That leads us right into the practical application of all this, because it's really easy to sit here and nod and say, yes, I am a noble steward. But how do you actually know if you're drifting? How do you know if you've slipped back into that ownership or validation mindset?
Because ethical drift is real. It happens slowly.
Yeah.
You start enjoying the perks a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
You start hiding bad news a little more often because it's inconvenient.
Scrutiny actually provides a litmus test for this. 3 questions senior leaders have to ask themselves routinely. And these are not comfortable questions. These are the kind of questions you ask yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.
They are diagnostic. They are meant to find the cancer before it kills the host.
Let's run through them. Question 1. Do I view advancement as a privilege or a responsibility?
This goes right back to the validation trap.
Yeah.
If you see it as a privilege, you start feeling entitled. Like, I'm the VP, I shouldn't have to deal with this administrative nonsense. Why isn't my coffee ready?
Right.
It sounds petty, but that entitlement is the very first step toward believing the rules don't apply to you. If you view it as a responsibility, the sheer weight of the role keeps you humble. You realize the perks are just tools to help you do the job, not treats for being special.
Question 2. Do I leverage influence for personal insulation or organizational strength? This one feels huge in the current corporate climate.
It's massive. We see this in failing companies constantly. Leaders use their power to build a moat around themselves. They hire yes men who won't ever challenge them. They create structures that hide their mistakes. They use influence to ensure they never look bad.
Insulation. They are basically wrapping themselves in bubble wrap made out of other people's careers.
Right. Whereas a steward uses influence to make the organization stronger, even if it makes the leader vulnerable. A steward says, I messed up, and here's exactly how we are fixing it, because that transparency strengthens the culture. An insulator just buries the mistake to protect their image.
And the third question, which I think is probably the hardest one to answer honestly. Do I welcome scrutiny at the level of authority I hold?
Do you welcome scrutiny? I mean, most of us hate scrutiny. We want autonomy. We want people to trust us and leave us alone. I know what I'm doing. Get off my back.
But Scrutiny argues that if you hold high authority, you absolutely must accept high scrutiny.
It is a structural safeguard. If you are fighting against oversight, if you are annoyed by the board asking questions, or you're angry that compliance is checking your work, that is a screaming red siren of ethical drift.
Wow.
You should welcome the inspector because you know the stakes of the dam breaking are so high. You should want to know if there's a crack.
That is such a countercultural thought. We usually think, I've reached the top, now nobody can question me. But Scrutiny is literally saying you've reached the top, now everyone must question you.
Exactly. If you're annoyed by the inspection, it means you care more about your comfort than the safety of the village below the dam. High authority requires high accountability. If you have high authority and low accountability, you have a recipe for corruption. Every single time.
So bringing this all together, why is this so urgent right now? The author seems to think we are in a specific moment in history where this is more critical than it's ever been.
Well, just look at the environment we operate in today. Visibility is total. In the 1980s, a CEO could be a complete tyrant inside the office, and the public would never know unless a journalist did a deeply researched expose months later.
Now, it's a tweet, or a leaked Zoom call, or an audio recording on a phone from an all-hands meeting.
Exactly. Influence is amplified, and reputation moves at the speed of light. Scrutiny's point is that organizational consequences compound rapidly now. We don't have the luxury of slow-moving failures. Trust erodes overnight.
It feels like the margin for error is just zero.
The margin for character error is zero. You can make a business mistake. You can launch a product that completely flops. People forgive that. That's just business. But if you fail on the leadership math,
right,
if you abuse the trust, if you insulate yourself, if you treat people like commodities, the market and the talent pool will punish you instantly.
So we really don't need leaders who are just seeking a bigger platform.
No. We have plenty of influencers. We have plenty of people who want the microphone. We need leaders who understand the math. We need leaders who look at a promotion and say, oh, wow, this is going to be heavy.
It really redefines ambition, doesn't it? If you're chasing the C-suite just because you want the lifestyle, you're walking into a trap.
You're walking into a blast zone, and you're bringing everyone else with you.
I think for anyone listening who is eyeing that next promotion, or maybe who just got it, this is a bit of a cold shower, but a really necessary one.
It's a reality check. And I think it's empowering in a strange sort of way, because it gives you a roadmap. If you are feeling the weight, if you are feeling the anxiety of the role, that might actually mean you're doing it right.
That's actually a really comforting thought. You're feeling the gravity because you're actually carrying the load, not dragging it.
Right. If you weren't carrying it, you wouldn't feel the burn.
Leadership mathematics. I am never going to forget that concept. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with the final challenge from the source. Because Skiersky doesn't just leave us with the theory, he asks us to look in the mirror.
He poses 2 final questions that I think everyone should just sit with this week. Put them on a sticky note on your monitor. The first one is, where has your responsibility increased faster than your internal calibration?
That is deep. Have you grown in title, but your internal maturity is still back at the junior manager level?
It's basically asking, has the car gotten too fast for your driving skills? It's a call to upgrade your internal operating system to match the external hardware you've been handed.
And the second question?
When did leadership start to feel heavier for you?
And what if the answer is, it hasn't?
Then you are in trouble. If it doesn't feel heavy, you aren't carrying it, you're likely dragging it, or worse, you've dropped it on someone else. Senior leadership isn't an arrival, it's an assignment. And it's a heavy one.
Such a powerful place to leave it. This has certainly changed how I view the congratulations email when someone gets promoted. Instead of just, congrats, maybe we should say, good luck with the wait.
Travel safely.
Exactly. Thank you for helping us break this all down today. It's a standard absolutely worth aiming for.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the true weight of leadership. We'll see you next time.
If this conversation made you rethink how leadership is evaluated, you'll want to stay with Frontline Leadership. Follow, subscribe, and join us as we break down what decision makers are really listening for when the stakes are high.